Hello, my name's Tom Otley and welcome to the latest of our flight reviews. Today we are flying on the new Virgin A330 Neo to Tampa in Florida from London Heathrow. It's about a 10-hour flight, so we'll have plenty of time to try out the seat, both in terms of sitting in it, working, watching the in-flight entertainment, eating, but then also having a sleep, because it does go fully flat, and with it being a 10-hour flight, it would be great to catch some sleep in the afternoon before we land. The first thing to say about this seat is it's completely new for Virgin Atlantic. Their old seat, and the seat that you'll see on the majority of their fleet, is a herringbone seat. That refers to what it looks like from above, the configuration. Then you have a herringbone or reverse herringbone, and reverse is when you're facing the window in the window seats, and normal is when you're facing away from the seats. This seat isn't one of those, it's forward facing, and it's an off-the-shelf seat actually. It's called a Thomson Vantage XL seat. You know, they've adapted it slightly, they've put doors on it, which is one of the options, but it's a standard seat and you will see it on many airlines. The way that it works in terms of configuration, and you'll see this if you look at from the front, is that each seat is sort of staggered left and right as you go back. And the reason for that is that when you recline the seat, your feet go forward into a space, an enclosed space that actually forms the side table of the seat in front. It's kind of a neat way of getting around the fact of how do you maximise the space on the plane when everyone wants to sleep and go fully flat. The advantage of that, other than the fact that you get a fully flat bed, is that the side table is quite wide, because it has to be, because you've got to fit someone's feet in and they've got to be able to turn over when they're sleeping. So you get this large side table, which means that you can be, for instance, working in, and then the food comes and you just put your laptop to one side or all your items, and you've got the table spare, the tray table to eat from. So that's a good thing. But the reason why they've had to go for something like this at Thomson Vantage XL, and so has their sister airline Delta, is the A330 fuselage, if you like, is slightly narrower than, say, a 777 or an A350 or a 787, so they couldn't fit those bigger seats in. So when you think of the configuration of this one, it's still 121, which is A, D, G, K, the letters. It's all got direct aisle access, which is the important thing, which you can get in and out without climbing over someone. But it also means that it's not the widest or the most spacious seat that you're going to get in upper class. So for instance, if I look forward here, the seat in front, the back of it, I can touch it. So what? Well, it means that there's a slight sense of claustrophobia, particularly if the privacy door is shut as well. And for that reason, I imagine there's some people who are slightly claustrophobic won't want that door shut. That's fine, because it's an option. It's locked open for takeoff and landing, and then you have the option of opening and closing it. If you're in a centre seat like me, you've also got this privacy screen. These seats would be great if you were travelling with a couple or in a couple, but obviously if you're not, you want that privacy, and the moment you do takeoff and landing, once you've done takeoff, you can lift that up, and then you've got privacy. And that's important, because if you think, like I sit up now, if I was filming this, the lady next to me would be directly in the line of sight, so you do need that. That said, if you're travelling with someone, you want to be in one of these seats. Most of the headlines for the A330 upper class Neo in Virgin will be made by the two seats at the front, the two centre seats at the front. And because of the configuration of the aircraft, and because Virgin's clever, it's made the most of those and turned them into what it's calling the retreat. There's more space there, there's more leg room, there's more space forward, because the in-flight entertainment screens are kind of all the way forward, almost on the bulkhead. It's a much bigger TV screen, 27-inch I think it is. So all of that works for them, and they've made the most of it. So there's kind of an extra bit of storage area. I think they're going to charge a premium for it, but superior experience. I can imagine for a honeymoon couple or something like that, it would be a great way of starting their holiday, their honeymoon. But for the rest of the seats, which are the ones, basically, if you're flying, these are the ones you're going to be sitting in. You've got a choice between window and these centre seats. If I was on my own, I'd pick one of the window seats. I didn't get the choice this time, but I'd pick a window seat. And there doesn't seem to be a bad one of those. Sometimes you get this situation where, because of the strengthening on the fuselage, there's fewer windows. In terms of storage, there's a fair bit, but not a huge amount. So there's kind of an area, because I'm in the centre seat, there's an area down here on the left, which is for magazines. There's also slightly more space in the side compartment for the window seats than there is in the centre seat. So you see this? Fits. Now I'm going to show you what it's like in the centre seat. So I think that's another reason for the window seats. They also seem less claustrophobic because of course you've got the windows. I mean, okay, so it's an element of natural light, well, the light coming in through the windows, but if you look at that seat, which is 3K, I don't know, it just seems to have more room. It probably doesn't, but... And then I'm going to go across to my one. Okay, so if you see my one there, to me that just seems to have a little more... Maybe it's because, you know, instead of having the window, you've just got the centre divide separating the two seats. And once it's up, you know, that's your impression of the seat, that you've just got that thing next to you, the sort of big grey screen next to you. Well, of course, on this one, instead of a grey screen, you've got the lovely windows. But I would definitely go for that rather than a centre seat if you have the choice. There's a side compartment where the headphones are, and you could also put something in there. And then there's a wireless charging area where you put your phone. There's also plenty of power available at the seat, so there's an AC power for EU, US and UK plugs. And there's also, I think, 2 USBs and also a direct USB-C. So, you know, you've got no problem powering all your devices. The tray table, I have to say, isn't the most robust one. So it comes out, it's great, you can eat on it, you can work on it, but if you're banging away on your laptop, it does vibrate up and down, and if you were cutting your food, you have to be a little bit careful that everything doesn't slide off the end of it. That's just the nature of these things, where it comes out of one, but there's no support on the other side, and I think that's kind of a shame. I sort of understand maybe it wasn't an option on the Thomson Vantage, but XL. But on some of these seats, the tray comes out, and then there's a little ledge on the other side that you can rest the table on. I remember in the old days, well, it's still flying with Club World, if you wanted the seat to be, the tray table to be robust, you'd get the blanket and shove it under the arm of the, you know, the far end of the table, and then you'd have support on both sides. Anyway, the tray table isn't fantastic. There's lots of little nice touches around the seat. The seat controls are pretty intuitive. You know, you can press one button and it goes into fully flat. And I'll demonstrate that later. And there's a reading light and a coat hanger and all the things that you'd expect. These are the 2 front seats that make all the headlines on the A330 in upper class. The 2 seats are together, but they're different. They've got, I think, more space than the other seats. They call it the retreat, I guess, because, you know, you can draw close the doors and you've got this kind of big space to yourself, a retreat. It'd be perfect for couples. I mean, you know, you can imagine this being the ultimate start for a honeymoon. It's just as comfortable. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of the other seats, but this does seem to have more room. I'll put the facts and figures in the written review. I guess you'd maybe get a bit of noise from the front of the cabin, but if there were 2 of you, these are the seats that I'm sure that you'd try and get for. I don't know whether I'm going to try and find out whether they're going to charge more for each individual seat or to book them collectively. But they've got giant screens, much bigger screens for the in-flight entertainment, and you've got this real sense of it being your personal space. Albeit, you've got to bear in mind that the walls of all of these suites, the doors and the walls, you know, are very low. So anyone walking by, they're looking straight in, so you haven't really got privacy. But you know, once you're lying down, it might feel like that. I'm going to look at the in-flight entertainment. This is the choice of movies, and it's a wide choice, and it really is kind of, you know, top-class stuff, as you'd expect from Virgin. It's a sort of USP for them. You can see there you've got movies, audio, TV. You can look at My Trip, tour the suite. You see that this is the bar area, what the area looks like if there's no one there. But at the moment, it's full of people. But you can see there, there's seat belts so that you can actually meet and chat with people. Okay, so this is the loft area, which is where you hang out, have a few drinks. There's a fridge there, partially filled. I guess it'll get filled after we've had the meal service. 1 seat on that side, and then a kind of long bench seat here, or banquette, and as you can see, as well as having the seat belt, so you can actually stay there safely, and if there's a bit of turbulence, you can lean down this, rest your drinks on it, but also have some USB charging as well. It's a comfy space. This is the vegetarian main course, which is a curry. So when it's time for sleep, you get this down, or I guess the flight attendants will get the, I think it's a bottom cover, and then there'll be a top cover or a duvet within it. Let's have a look. That looks amazing. Thank you. Yeah. It's just a thank you very much.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So that's what the bed looks like when it's fully made up. You can see the central dividers down, while on this seat it isn't, because they know when we're there. Okay, so having the seat put into a bed, I managed to get about an hour's sleep. Not a lot, but it's better than nothing, and of course it's in the afternoon, so because of the flight time, we're going to land in mid-afternoon UK time and early afternoon US time. There's actually only 4 hours time difference, just weirdly at the moment, because of us changing from British summertime to GMT. So we've got about an hour left to go before we go into Tampa. I think in terms of sleeping on the bed, it's absolutely fine. It's comfortable. It's quite narrow. Certainly for these middle seats, I'm in 3G, it's quite a narrow bed. When you're turning over, you do notice that. Your sort of feet, you have to kind of negotiate it slightly. And in terms of the amount of room that you get around the shoulders, it's a similar thing. I'm kind of average, it's sort of like 5'10", 5'11", and not hugely fat. So it's fine for me. I think if you're much taller and much bigger, I think this will be quite a tight seat, but that's true of all Thomson Vantage XL ones. But it's comfortable, and the flight attendants were fantastic about making up the bed and also keeping quiet while I was asleep, even though they were serving people around me. I think there's a lot to be welcomed about this new Virgin seat. They've had various iterations of their upper class seats, including ones that you had to get out of to turn into a bed. You stepped out of the seat, flipped the seat, and then you had a more comfortable cushion on the back of the seat. This one you can just recline. It's very good and very comfortable for just relaxing. Get your feet on the seat there and just have a read, and then gradually recline and fall asleep. So it's comfortable. The service is excellent on board. So I'd have no hesitation in recommending it. I didn't manage to record the final food setting because I was asleep, but that was just sandwiches before we went in for landing, and they were on order. So I hope you enjoyed this flight review. Please let us know if you have any comments, or if you've flown Virgin, or have any questions about it, and do read the review on Business Traveller, which will cover a lot of the facts that we didn't manage to get to, or I didn't manage to get to in this review. Thanks so much.